This is Toledo's Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me by phone today are the Toledo Symphony's music director, Alain Trudel. We also have the TSO's marketing director, Felecia Kanney. Welcome to both of you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, now, Alain, you're still up in Canada. Felecia, you're safe and sound at home as well. I just want to do a quick check-in, see how things are going.
Well, things are going fine. I miss you and all of our public and everybody in Toledo, but we'll be back soon enough.
Yeah. Felecia, how's it going down there?
All is quiet in the house so far, which is always good, but I am moving rooms, so you might hear differences in my voice.
That's okay. That's all right. That's the nature of the beast, as it were. Well, today we're going to talk about this concept of color in symphonic music. Alain, you've assembled this quite spectacular program that is happening on the WGTE Presents TSO and HD episode. It's Sunday afternoon at 6 o'clock. Folks, if you haven't been watching these, it's a wonderful way to connect with the symphony and to really see, the real details of everything that goes on in an orchestral performance. Just a thrilling experience. So that'll be this Sunday at 6 o'clock on WGTE TV. A lot of music on here, and I want to talk about some of these pieces, but I want to drill down a little bit to this whole idea of symphonic color. And Felecia, I'm going to ask you to sort of play the part of the consumer, the listener, the sort of a proxy for the audience members. And Alain, I want you to talk about the mechanics of creating color in a symphonic work, because you have experience doing this as a performer. You have experience doing this as a conductor, bringing those colors to life, and also, of course, as a composer. And we're going to hear one of your pieces on this program. So you have a sort of a multifaceted view of what it is to create and bring color to the stage in the form of a symphony. Before we get started, maybe one of you can just talk a little bit about the whole concept of symphonic colors and where it fits into the program that we're talking about. Alain, do you want to begin?
Sure. We try to, as far as the programs go, we try to alternate between, programs that are symphonies with very elaborate and long movements, like Mahler's Second that we just had on the radio and on TV, and the one after the color program, which was also symphony with long movements, with programs that have that are more like not excerpts, but shorter works and multiple shorter movements and works and different kind of textures that we can find in that the orchestra can play, and it shows different sections of the orchestra, because it keeps it entertaining for everybody also, and it's nice to have a diversity in the repertoire and the colors that the orchestra can make during that. And not that you don't have many different colors in a Mahler symphony, because you do, because it goes from chamber music playing to the very huge orchestra and chorale playing together as the block chords and things like that. So we do have that, but it's nice to have sometimes movements that are so short that you can focus on one kind of idea, one kind of color, and then go to a next thing that's completely different.
Yeah. Okay.
Will we still get the soundboard?
Yes.
That's amazing.
The soundboard is back in action for this episode. Felecia, why don't you talk just a little bit about this concept of color? Because, you sit in the audience for most of these programs, but of course you are also a musician, an oboist. You have a lot of experience with this repertoire. What does it mean to you, this whole concept of colors in a symphonic work?
Well, I love the title Symphonic Colors, and the performance we did a couple of years ago called Colors, because I think it gives audience members like a great analogy to understand what is happening on stage, because the instrument sections are kind of all of the paints, and the composer and the conductor get to mix and match all of these paints to create different sound colors for everyone to hear. And I miss being in the audience, because what is so great about those large TSO and HD screens of the Paris style is that you get to see and zero in on what color is being used at a certain time. And it really, really helps focus the listening and keep people attuned to what is really happening on stage, because it's not like, unless you go to a concert with a score in front of you and you understand and can see on paper what is happening, it's a little bit, it's different. And I think Colors is a great, not a crutch exactly, but a great starting point to understand and see what is happening on stage.
I had to give you the applause button as well, Felecia, for that.
Yay.
Let's talk about the program in particular, because you mentioned, Alain, there are a lot of shorter pieces, some excerpts here and there. So it's a big, wide palette of colors that are being displayed in this concert. And it's actually the only TSO and HD program that we're also including a performance of the Star-Spangled Banner.
It's such a beautiful anthem. And I wanted to include it because the words of it also, it has to do with resilience, and we need that right now. We need to remember that, we are resilient, and the situation we're in will come to pass. We'll learn from it. But it's, anthems sometimes are underrated musically. I mean, I know the Canadian one that is written by one of the most, influential composer of his time, but it's kind of mostly forgotten these days. So it's important that we play them. I remember I have an experience of I was conducting all the orchestra for all the anthems of the Commonwealth Games a few years ago, and we had to record there were 41 anthems. Wow. And some of them in South America, they're like symphonic poems. Some of them are like 8 minutes long. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. It's interesting.
But ours is harder to sing.
Yeah, but you know what? It tells a story. So, and it talks about the character and talks about the personality. Like, this is very direct, this anthem. And it's to the point, but at the same time, it's like I said. I mean, I know I repeat what I just said, but the resilience in it was something super important for me. So I want to start with that.
Yeah, absolutely, and a reminder of community and how we come together in these performances.
So I should simplify my voice part for the national anthem, right? Remove all the runs and the Mariah Careys.
All the roulades.
Oh yeah. Some people actually transcribe those things and put them on the internet. If you're looking for every note that was sung, I don't know. There's something I really like about keeping it simple when you play the national anthem.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other composers that are on this program.
Okay.
Many of them known for creating great orchestral colors. Probably the top of this list, if we exclude you, as a composer, would be Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, somebody who really dabbled in symphonic colors. But we're going to hear the Flight of the Bumblebee, which everybody knows. That's a piece that has gone through so many different arrangements and versions. But talk a little bit about the actual orchestral version of this.
So exactly for the reason you said. It's so well known, and everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows all the versions. God knows I've played it many times. It's it's good to play the whole piece where it's from. So it's the Tale of the Tsar, Saltan, by Rimsky-Korsakov. As you mentioned, Rimsky-Korsakov was one of the greatest orchestrator of our genre of symphonic music. Along with Ravel, they're the two greatest ones. And, we can talk about many others, but those, they made it a big part of their career to find the different colors you can have in the orchestra. So, of course, the Bumblebee is important, but what comes after, the last movement of that suite, I wanted to keep on because there's so many different ways of matching. It's the alchemy of it, like when you have how does a trumpet with a oboe sound? How does the string section with perhaps some clarinet and some horn sound? How does so you put all of them together and you get different. It's like you can see a chemist in his laboratory. That changes color, sound changes textures. So Rimsky-Korsakov is like that. Like the original Bumblebee is very, very transparent. Of course, it's not. It doesn't sound like something that's in your face virtuoso like we do very often. It's basically just the strings playing and just the flute joining in, bringing it to the clarinet, bringing it back to the violin. It takes a little bit of courage to program it, and especially to play it, because everybody knows it very well. It's played all the time, but and we didn't go halfway. We played it at like neck-breaking speed, and the orchestra did very well on it. So I wanted to include it in the program.
Yeah.
Now, what better piece to start after our anthem than something by Korsakov? Probably the best-known thing with Scheherazade that he ever did. So and also to take our public and continue, because that's the third movement of our four-movement suite. So we continue into the last movement of that after that.
So as a composer, maybe you can write a follow-up to Rimsky-Korsakov and call it the invasion of the murder hornets or the killer wasps or whatever that horrifying
that would be the
insect is. Yeah, that wouldn't just be the strings. You'd have to bring in a few more instruments. Just for kicks, I want to spend a minute here for folks, for the maybe one or two people who don't know what we're talking about, and this is a little memory refresher here. Now we hear the piano. See if you can identify this sound.
I think distorted.
Yeah, I think it's synthesized, but it's supposed to be kazoos. I did that in your honor, of course, Felecia.
Yeah, I feel like I have PTSD.
You've had enough kazoo, right? Okay, I'll take that down. But it's one of the most entertaining pieces in the repertoire, and that's why it's always excerpted, of course. Alain, I know I'm asking you a lot of questions, and I want to get Felecia in on this. And maybe we'll turn to you now, Felecia, to talk a little bit about these two guest conductors, because we've watched programs directed by Alain, and for this particular program, he's brought in a couple of works with some favorite guest conductors, especially Giordano Bellincampi, who's doing the fourth movement from the Scottish Symphony of Felix Mendelssohn. Do you want to say a few words about Giordano and also about James Fedek, who's conducting Smetana's The Moldau?
Yes. So Giordano has been a long-time conductor with the Toledo Symphony, guest conductor with the symphony for many years, and I remember sitting in the audience when he was leading the orchestra through Scottish, and it's like it was just like a dear friend coming back to visit, and staying for a while, and it's a really it's nice that we get a season where we can, Alain Trudel has the opportunity to introduce and invite some guests to work with the symphony, because it mixes things up a little bit. And, we always learn a little bit more from someone who's coming in for a little bit, and then we get to use that in our tool bag, our palette, to prepare for our future performances as well. And I also remember James Fedek. I had not seen him before with the orchestra, and I've only been with the orchestra for about 7 years. So he was a newer person in the lineup. And I remember I usually sit in the peristyle, kind of on the back of the main floor or up in the raised section, or kind of walking back and forth along the promenade. But with the James Fedek concert, I believe that's the one with Julian Schwartz as well. I was seated in like the second or third row, and I had never sat there before. So that in and of itself was a new experience, getting to be that close to the orchestra and the sound that hits. And to see the different conducting styles of our guests, it was just really, really interesting to watch. And those, I'll commend the TSO and HD screens and all of the people who produce those again, because it's fascinating to see what it looks like from the orchestra's perspective, the conductors and their different techniques and ways of conveying the music.
Now, Alain, why don't you put on your conductor hat for a minute and give us a little bit of a backstage tour of what you have to do as a conductor, like to bring out colors and contrast in pieces like this. Is it a matter of like, hey, you strings need to play softer so I can hear the flute? I mean, how much of it is mechanics and how much of it is just feeling through the orchestra?
Great question.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned like playing softer. It's not so much about the dynamic. It's not so much about, it's like if you mix, if you have a glass with half of it as wine and then you start pouring water in it and then the taste becomes different. Of course, I don't recommend you do that. But but the color becomes different. So it's like the pastel kind of thing in it. So there's a way of playing in the strings. For example, if you dig in and you play and you're really super connected between the bow and the string, that makes a sound. And if you take the pressure off a little bit by little, then it becomes a sound that's more floating a little bit, which is actually called flautendo. So there's a lot of colors in that. I mean, the program we did now wasn't so much about that, because, otherwise I would have put a lot of French composers in it. But we've had, on HD, we had a big program of French music not so long ago. So I wanted to have something that had more to do with composition than actually interpretation in it. So I want to see the outlook from different composers. Like if we talk about Mendelssohn, which I'm so happy I could include Giordano and our TV series there, because he's such a great friend of the orchestra and he's such a great musician too, right? So, but the way it's orchestrated, it's much lighter. Everything that's Mendelssohn usually, it's kind of on the lighter side of the orchestration, but it still has intensity. If we compare to a big orchestra, which we have in Tchaik 5, but I didn't pick one of the big movements. I picked the valse in it. But that's really interesting because Tchaikovsky really wrote a valse, but he added 2 extra beats. A valse is in 3. Yum, bum, 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 bum. And he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a valse in 5. So that's really interesting.
Don't try to dance to it, is what you're saying. You'll fall over.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because this, of course, introduces the cellos. It's more based around the cellos, and everything around it is accompaniment for us. But if you're going to Moldau, then it's all based around the flutes at the beginning. But we're trying to create an image in the Smetana Moldau. That's I'm just going through different pieces because it gives you an idea of what the composer is trying to do. But it's like the flow of the water. And this, so it's like the river flowing through. So he picked the flutes doing that, but with a little click, click from the strings, and then a little bit of harp, and it sets you perfectly in the right idea. But to set you up, you need to have the right notes and the right tempos, the right things, but you need to have the right colors, and that's what we're trying to do a lot in this one. So the colors are, what instruments do you pick? How do you mix them together? How, you talked about dynamics, yes, but how do you play them? Do you play them in a very, not soft way, but in a way that's very tender, So it's the difference between soft and tenderly, loud and assertive, they're all the subtlety that you have when you're talking. Those things are colors more than actual name of things that you're doing.
I want to take a quick little pause here and run you both through a personality color test that we actually did. We did that in the Colors episode 2 seasons ago, but neither one of you were there, so you haven't taken this test yet, right? So what I'm going to ask you is to identify and maybe even decide on it. Maybe it just is for right now or today, or under whatever circumstances we're facing. Tell me your favorite color and why. Okay, so let's start with you, Felecia. I'll give you a little bit of music in the background. Tell me your favorite color and why it's your favorite color.
Oh, man, I was just grilled on this question a couple days ago by my kindergartner. My favorite color is red, and it has changed over the years, but I've kind of settled on red because I love how bold it is and how bright, and it's a primary color, so you can mix it with a lot of, well, you can mix it with yellow and blue to create a bunch of other colors, and if you mix it all together, you get brown. And I think for me, it's kind of the opposite of how I view myself, so I really like that a lot, and I like using it because it's different. It's actually, in my view, different than who I am.
Wow. That was quite an answer. That was a great answer. Okay,
I know,
red.
I was grilled.
So Felecia is red. Alain, I'm going to cue up the music again. You can tell us all about your favorite color.
Okay.
All right, hit it.
Oh, well, okay. Well, my favorite color is blue. Blue is the sky. Blue is the water. Blue is, for me, it's hope. Blue also is a gateway to green. It plays well with yellow, plays well with other colors. It goes towards, from, like I said, from the blue of the sky to the aqua of the ocean. I mean, this is, it's Mother Earth. It's a color that moves me, and also it's, being a jazz musician at heart, I like the blues.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. That was two great, fantastic answers from both of you. I have to say my favorite color is red. And, man, I'm embarrassed to even try to talk about it now after hearing what Felecia had to say, because mine is not anywhere near as, well thought out as yours. But, of course, I had not been grilled by a kindergartner leading up to this question. But my kids do have something to do with it. I mean, I identified with blue probably a few years ago, but then I made a switch to red. I just decided that red was the color of participation. Red was the color of action, and it seemed to me to make sense. My kids latched onto that, so now they know my favorite color is red, and I can't change it for anything. Now, personality quiz.
You talk about action, but then immediately I pictured a stop sign.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, well.
You might want to change your color.
Hey, I'm a Gemini, so it's okay. It's okay to have both ways. So
good.
Here are the results of the personality test. Let's start with Felecia and myself, because it's pretty short. It's just one sentence here. People who love red. Okay. Those who love red live life to the fullest and are tenacious and determined in their endeavors. Okay? So that's you and I, Felecia. We're tenacious and determined. Okay?
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Alain, blue, here we go.
Yeah.
This is actually a little bit longer and more complicated. So if blue is your favorite color, you love harmony, are reliable, sensitive, and always make an effort to think of others. You like to keep things clean and tidy and feel that stability is the most important aspect in life. Would you agree with that? Are you a clean and tidy person, Alain?
Obviously, you're not in my house right now, but
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. I mean, it's like astrology a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So but what I like the most about color, it's in music, is the way like people like Messiaen use colors.
Yeah, Olivier Messiaen.
Yeah, Olivier Messiaen. He saw some people have that ability to, when they listen to a sound, they kind of see a color. And
synesthesia, I believe, is what you're talking about.
Synesthesia, exactly. Yeah. I think we had that talk 2 years ago when we were talking about the color program.
Yeah.
But for me, it's that different chords have. I mean, I don't really have that ability, but they have different kind of. I don't know. That for me, it's not the color per se, but the little feeling inside. It takes you. How it sits inside of you a little bit,
Yeah. Give us a quick little 2-minute rundown on your piece that we're going to hear. It's called Rhea, Rhea, inspired by the Greek goddess or Titan, who is the mother of Zeus, but also relates to a specific person in your history. Can you tell us about this piece?
Yes. So Rhea, and also some people know her name in a different way, because, there's always the Greek and the Roman mythology. So you might know from Cybele, like in Decibel, Cybele. Of course, the mother of Zeus. I wanted to pay tribute to a great supporter from the Toronto Symphony, the other TSO. That was, I wrote this about, I think, 15 years ago, 15, 16, I can't exactly remember. But she had, her husband passed and she wanted to do a tribute, but actually I thought of a tribute to her because it's hard when people pass, but it's hard for the people who stay, the courage they need, to go through. And she was a super courageous person, Alexandra, and she was, of course, somebody who worked a lot to help the symphony. And so she said, well, could you do something for this? Absolutely. And we're going on tour in the north of Canada. And I wrote this piece. And I thought, the most important person I could find in the mythology. But at the same time, Rhea is very, it talks about sounds. It talks about the music, because whenever Cybele or Rhea would show up somewhere, it says that she would be introduced by a great fanfare of drums and trumpets.
Yeah, I'm the same way everywhere I go. Right?
At least we're not playing our theme music today.
Yeah,
but that's good.
That's right.
But it's a very simple piece, unpretentious. It's just, it's about 6 minutes long. And what it has is, again, I was talking about those chords. It's based on, like Messiaen music a little bit, on a limited transposition mode, and I won't go into that because we like to keep our audience on the radio. But someday, if you want, we can talk about modes and things like that. That would be fun. But it's based around a few chords, should I say, and those chords we play around like a little bit like Legos with the chords that we have, and there's a melody towards that. But the important thing is at the beginning, it's all based around one note, and that note opens up, and you have the note that it's a D, da 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 da, and that there's little outbursts here and there that creates a melody that comes much later in the piece, and that's about it. At the end, there's a big timpani solo, which represents the drums that with the intro to Rhea. And the trumpets, there's trumpets off stage. So I want to create that sound, that trumpets that were coming far away that says something is coming,
Yeah.
And that leads us to the end. And the last few chords, I even have the brass of the orchestra stand to play the last few chords of the piece. And the last chord of the piece is a big major chord, except there's a intrusion of one note that's not supposed to be there, but that creates a darkness into a very bright music.
You did that on purpose, right? You added that extra note. It wasn't just something that happened. You were like, "Hey, that sounds good."
No. I didn't say no. It's a major chord flat six. I mean, it's by nowadays it's not that strange of a chord, but it's just like when you want to add a little, you take a super bright chord, like a bright color, and you add. It's like if you put a little bit of purple in your red, know.
Interesting.
And so I add a little bit of darkness to that very bright chord at the end, to all the chords at the end. I just put a little bit of something dark to make it stronger and to make it wider a little bit. So that goes really into the technical way of creating colors in the orchestra.
Well, that's where the colors play well with others concept comes into the equation.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, primary colors, there's an equivalent of not primary colors, but primary things that you can do in the orchestra and the chords and the instrumentation. You go back to the origin of the genre, like all the way from Frescobaldi to Haydn to Mozart, and then you start. It opens up. We have the great value and the great luck of having hundreds and hundreds of years of slow development of the art form. It's not, we didn't change everything in the last 50 years. It's hundreds and hundreds of years. So it was basically developed with what was accepted and trying to stretch the limit of what we want to hear and what the public is, it can take a little bit. But now we have hundreds of years behind us. So, of course, the public of today has such a wide range of different colors, if I may say, so that they know already in their DNA that we can do so many different programs,
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, we've had a great discussion. I mean, the whole idea of symphonic colors is a huge, huge landscape to explore, but some parts of it certainly displayed in this concert. I want to mention again this program, hand-curated by our music director, Alain Trudel, is happening on Sunday at 6 o'clock on WGTE TV, part of WGTE Presents, TSO and HD. My thanks to both Felecia Kanney as well as Alain Trudel for joining me today. This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab, and you can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including both Apple and Google Podcasts. There are several different ways that you can connect with the Toledo Symphony and help keep the music alive during the current health crisis through the TSO's social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and their YouTube account. And, of course, you can watch WGTE TV Presents, TSO and HD, Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. And you can also tune in to our Thursday night concerts on the radio at 8 o'clock p.m. Alain and Felecia, thanks so much for joining me by phone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll check in next time.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.